It's great.
Jeff, one question we wanted to ask you is, you're working at this incredibly purpose-filled organization. And as you think about talent leaders who are maybe in other organizations, maybe not quite as purpose-filled, what kind of advice would you give to them? What are the things that you think they could do to help infuse purpose into their daily practice, into the talent practices that they're putting in place?
I think you can't fake it. I think it can't be plastic. It can't be a veneer. It needs to be real. True. We're a business that lends itself to altruism and purpose. But I think it's a process of discovery, of figuring out in any business what's the real reason for existing, and not telling some lofty story that is beyond the truth. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's just articulate the truth and get people excited about the work of that company. I mean, employees these days, I think all of us are so able to sniff out hypocrisy or sniff out overstatement. So how can it just reflect the truth and build excitement around the truth? Don't create excitement around something that is a little bit perhaps disingenuous. I think that'd be my top tip.
I love that. Speaking of ingenuous, this is a question that Chris asks at the end of all of his podcasts, and I love it. Why did you choose this line of work, and what inspired you to do the work that you do? So for instance, a person or an incident or an observation or something. How did you get into this line of work, and why did you?
Oh, man. Wow. I've been in this game. I remember, being in college, and I was interested in psychology and I was interested in business. And I'm like, well, I can glue those two together and do this work. But I guess that's kind of a tactical. I don't know. I think I've always been just confused and fascinated by how groups work together, how people interact, and how it can be so predictable, but then people will surprise you, how external events can impact groups of people. And it's just been something I've just always had a curiosity about. And maybe it's me trying to figure it out for myself too. But it's just been a fascination. And it's something that for me that, I'm just as curious about this stuff today as I was when I started, which, I take as a real gift.
I love that. We hear the word curious when we ask that question a lot. One final question before we wrap up. Where can people learn about your work, and how can people connect with you and your company?
But we'd love to connect with you. I think, following our social channels on LinkedIn is probably a great way to stay in touch on Medtronic. We've really amped up our social media efforts, and there's some, really interesting stuff in there. And, that's another good spot to connect with me as well.
Great. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for the time today and for just the incredibly thoughtful conversation.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Learning is the New Working and our collaboration with the Red Thread Research Group. You can pick up a transcript of this episode and a lot of other bonus materials from this season at www.novoed.com. We're very grateful to the team at NovoEd for sponsoring this season. Global enterprises rely on NovoEd's collaborative online learning platform to build high-value capabilities that result in real impact. With NovoEd, you can deliver powerful, engaging learning that activates deep skill development and drives measurable business outcomes. Please head over to www.novoed.com/purpose to get extra materials around the season. You can access the research that we discuss here, as well as a ton of other great research and insights at www.redthreadresearch.com. And of course, you can subscribe to the podcast at www.learningisthenewworking.org. Please rate us on your podcast platform of choice. It helps us get visibility and bring more people into the conversation. And thanks for listening to Learning is the New Working.